Fulmer was an interim head coach when Johnny Majors fell ill a few years ago, and now is in his 4th season as the head man here at Tennessee. Former offensive lineman here coaching at his alma mater. And Brad Scott, the 11-year assistant to Bobby Bowden, is easily, other than perhaps the governor in South Carolina, the most popular man in the Palmetto State. Jeff Hall will kick off. South Carolina won the toss, elected to receive to no one's surprise.
Yeah, well, that's right. They wanted to be on offense first.
And there's Terry Cousin, who's back deep, and Bob mentioned the poor kicking game, but the return teams have done a nice job. They're first and second between them, and Cousin has a lot to do with that where South Carolina is concerned.
I know during your interview yesterday when you were talking with Steve Tannehill, do you see how anxious he was? We knew he wanted the ball.
Yeah, he does. It's so windy today that Deron Jenkins is going to have to hold on the tee for Jeff Hall's kick. Hall, by the way, won the Georgia game and is out of Winchester, Tennessee, the same hometown as Philip Fulmer. As you look at Cousin, averaging just under 24 yards per return. They rise to attention in Knoxville. Low squibber coming down to Deuce Staley. Staley to about the 23-yard line, 1st and 10. Craig King was down there to make the stop, a reserve linebacker for Tennessee. Tannehill on the season. Look at the touchdown to interception ratio. Outstanding.
That is absolutely incredible. That's the match, a mark of a great quarterback, that touchdown to interception ratio.
Over the past 3 weeks, he's been virtually unstoppable. But then again, he's not faced a Tennessee during that time. He feels he's got plenty to prove today. Over the middle to Monty Means for about 3. Stopped in a hurry by Tyrone Hines, the middle linebacker. Offensively, Tannehill has Pritchett behind him, who he'll use out of the backfield. And up front, Delvin Herring gets the start over Travis Whitfield at the right guard spot. They're very high on Dexter and Nesbitt. With the hurry-up offense, no huddle, and it's more of a turbo than just subway offensive approach. The out pattern to Nick Lowe. Through the 33-yard line, appears to be shy of the first down by about a yard. Defensively, Little is the one to watch off the corner along with Steve White. This line has 25 sacks this season. And the secondary, considered exploitable, led by Raymond Austin, the strong safety, junior out of Lawton, Oklahoma. Tannehill should have the first down with relative ease to the 35-yard line on the quarterback sneak.
You almost feel like you have to talk fast because the offense rolls so fast. That's the fastest I've ever seen you go through lineups, big guy.
That's the most quiet.
I didn't get a chance to say anything. Quick offense. They don't even get the clocks set before they're up there.
The idea is to get that defense a bit tired in the second half. But the Volunteers have much more depth than some of the other teams South Carolina has faced. That is Staley out of the backfield to the 38-yard line. So far, everything underneath from Tannehill.
Interesting. Throwing to those back, coming out of the backfield, trying to isolate them on linebackers, see if they can break a big one.
Gallion made the stop. Scott Gallion, who's a linebacker well worth watching today, the senior out of Seymour, Tennessee. Second and 7. Tannehill steps up, finds Means at midfield. Just shy of it at the 49-yard line. Tyrone Hines makes the tackle. A very physical presence, Monty Means.
Yes, absolutely. And you know you have to look at this offensive that they're playing today. It is all short passes. The wind has to be a big factor. I know John Reeves, the offensive coordinator, has made some corrections, so it's starting to be a little bit different game.
Shovel pass to Pritchett into Tennessee territory. Corey Noel made the tackle. Sophomore out of Memphis. They've lost a few players through attrition this year for Tennessee, as has been well documented. As you look at the numbers on Pritchett on the ground, he's also used as a receiver.
What did I say John Reeves? I meant John Eason. Boy, Big John Eason would really get on me.
Yeah, Reeves has done a tremendous job as the quarterback's coach. Helping Tannehill this year. double coverage that time. Thomas Pritchard was the intended receiver, and a marker comes down late.
Yeah, it was a late one thrown from the judge that was the farthest back. He saw the coming over top of the back of the defender. Well, it's the only way that Tennessee's had to take a breath. With this offense, the quick offense, you can't make any changes. You run somebody in, they got to be on a dead run in and a dead run out.
Pass interference on the defense. Offense ball. Spotted a ball. First down.
Ron Gilbert is our referee today. John Gaston, the umpire. Robert Towns, the linesman. And there you see the rest of that SEC officiating crew we had. That'll help your completion percentage, but it has been underneath. His tendency, though, much more so than Manning, is to look long.
Yeah, he does. He loves that long ball. He loves getting his wide receivers one-on-one. He's got hot receivers for the short pass, and he loves to go deep.
Outlet to Pritchett. And Pritchett stopped at the 31-yard line. A healthy gain. Scott Gallion comes over to make the tackle. There's Eason, the offensive coordinator, who came over from Florida State with Brad Scott. These guys are used to winning, so big game situations, nothing new to the staff, if not the team.
Absolutely. They've got a tremendous tradition of winning. And John Eason is one of the fun guys to talk to. He's very, very emphatic about his offense.
4 wide receivers in the game. Tannehill stretches to Zola Davis. First and goal, South Carolina.
And boy, what time the offensive line is giving Tannehill. They're stopping the middle press. They're running the 2 men deep. And Tannehill is just standing back there. Look at this. No pressure. Bring a backer. Nobody there. Look downfield. Zola Davis, number 21. And you asked Tannehill yesterday, say, hey, you getting that 3rd down and 6 or 7, you really need it? Who do you go to? Zola Davis.
He could rewrite the record books that Sterling Sharp had for so many years as a first-year player. Tannehill will tuck it and take it. Stopped just shy of the end zone, and he was hammered. And can you tell he's pumped?
Oh, boy. You look at him. You know how many quarterbacks will take that slide, Tim, in this situation? The slide where you can't touch him? Not Tannehill. Watch him stretch. I almost thought he would fumble the ball there when he stretched it out, but he's got big hands, and he can hold on to that football.
Jesse Sanders opting there, the left side linebacker, starting for Craig King, who had been injured, but will play. Movement.
Oh, you don't want to move down there.
Dexter appeared to be guilty. The left tackle.
Boy, you're 2nd down and 1. Now you got to be 2nd down and 6 or 7. You don't want to make a mistake down there.
Dead ball, Paul. False start. Right side of line. Offense.
I tell you, though, under normal circumstances, I'd agree. You look at the penalty yardage, which Bob Kessling pointed out prior to the start of our game. It's beset Brad Scott. But I think many times being on the 6 for this offense is better than the 1.
Yeah, it gives them a little bit more room to pass.
4 wideouts in for Tannehill. 2nd down and goal.
He's got plenty of time on the clock. He's changing the sides of the receivers.
Forward handoff to Pritchett, nothing doing. That is the base running play for the Gamecocks. Jesse Sanders in there again to make the tackle, number 22, out of Sebring, Florida, a senior. He really helps them in pass coverage. One of the reasons they're utilizing him today, although Craig King is available, is that he can drop back and help. And you need plenty of that in the perimeter today.
Well, the one thing that Steve Tannehill does not want to do in this situation is make a mistake.
3rd and goal. Means he was there. The pass had been overthrown. 5 wide receivers in on that play. Means was there. That's the first incompleted pass of the day for Tannehill.
Yeah, tremendous string here for South Carolina. They really put together a good offensive show. It's a little bit high, a little bit back behind him. He gets a hand on it, but the ball was thrown a little bit behind him.
7 of 8 was Tannehill in that series. Obviously upset that they'll have to settle for the field goal from Reed Morton, the senior out of Irmo, South Carolina. He'll have a slight angle right as he lines up on the left hash. A 24-yard try. Blocked. goes 91 yards.
Incredible penetration. The up man didn't block down. Came right up through the seam, and now it's off to the races. Boy, you talk about a penalty turning the game around. That penalty on second down on the 1-yard line changed the entire complexion of that first drive.
Just as Bob Kessling mentioned at the top, the kicking game, something that has been a real problem for the Gamecocks this year, evidenced early.
Oh, huge, just a huge mistake.
I don't know if Hines is hurt or if he's just winded.
I think he's winded, but there was a penalty here. It may be on the celebration penalty.
Which is really critical because now you're talking about an outstanding return team that will obviously have an opportunity for great field position. I think the track meet is on.
We talked about...
After the touchdown, excessive celebration on the offense, 15 yards on a kickoff.
Well, I think most coaches would take excessive celebration on a 91-yard block kick return.
We haven't seen much of the celebration rule imposed the last few weeks, which perhaps is testimony that it has worked. The extra point by Hall is good. The 20-hour practice limitation. What does it affect most? Kicking game. The good teams convert. Back after this word from CarQuest. There you see Morton being consoled on the sidelines. Tyrone Hines, the beneficiary, on what was a play that is a 14-point swing in this game.
Such a huge play because of the offsides, the illegal motion on that second down on the 1.
How badly does Tannehill feel about his only incompleted pass, one that was open, frankly, overthrown?
Well, if you're Steve Tannehill and the leader he is, you go out there and say, hey, look, offense, you played really well that first series. We started back off again.
Now, you wonder why the celebration rule is important, particularly late in games. Hall is going to have to tee it from the 20. He's likely to keep it low. South Carolina should get the ball near midfield for Tannehill, who still has to be confident about how quickly and easily his offense was able to move against Tennessee.
Well, what a big play by Leonard Little, number 1. That outside line rushing in there. He got that big block tipped over, and off they went to the races. That was just a huge play. That's why you play every play.
Pretty good kick. Back to the 10-yard line to Staley. But remember how good they are at returns. Second in the SEC. Deuce Staley. Out of bounds at the Tennessee 28. He outkicked his coverage team.
He certainly did.
60 yards on the return for Deuce.
Watch him pick up those big blocks. They draw him to the middle. Now get outside by the blocks. Right there. 2 big blocks thrown right there. Kick him out. Now get to the outside. And the kicker makes the tackle. See, he's the one he's a deep man. He's almost like the safety on the play. Does an excellent job.
Stooley gets a little work on that shoulder pad after a job well done on the return. Tannehill from the Tennessee 28-yard line. Incomplete, intended for Davis inside the 20-yard line. Down to Bob Kessler.
Yeah, you talk about Tyrone Hines scoring the touchdown. That's nothing new for him. Last year against Arkansas, he scooped up a fumble and went 38 yards for a touchdown. So Hines knows what to do with it when he gets his hands on it. He was a running back at times in high school as well and showed pretty good speed running that block kickback.
The last time Tennessee blocked a field goal for a touchdown was against Notre Dame in '91. 2nd and 10. Tannehill, outlet pass caught by Pritchett as he hits the turf for a negligible gain, maybe a yard if that. So it'll be a 3rd and long situation coming up for the Gamecocks.
Well, this is the first time that Tennessee's really gotten pressure on him. As Tannehill steps up, you see someone in his face. He's not able to bring that ball down and make that strike.
He's been sacked many more times than has Manning. You look at the average snap time, 10 seconds between the huddle. That offense moving a heck of a lot faster than it did in September. Tannehill steps up, and Little got to him. I'm not certain that they're going to attempt a field goal here.
Well, backside pressure. You see number 1, a unique number for a defensive lineman. That's Leonard Little. He's 6'3", about 220 pounds, but great speed.
They're going for it. 4th down, 9. And you see the story on 4th down conversions this year. A lot of confidence in this offense as head coach Brad Scott.
You see all his offensive linemen looking back saying, we really going for it? See, he's just trying to draw them offside.
Pressure again.
Well, again, number 1 comes into your screen. Outside, look at the speed that he has. Don't let him step outside, bring him down. Big play.
Coming off the corner with speed. Leonard Little in the face of Steve Tannehill.
And how would you like to be Peyton Manning? You've been standing over there for about 8 minutes and haven't gotten a snap yet.
Volunteers open from the 37. It's a reverse to Kent. And South Carolina snuffed it out. Caldwell, among others, 89 in on the stop. Tennessee's offense behind Manning. Graham looking for his 7th 100-plus yard day. That would be a Tennessee record if he gets it. And Lehman leads that offensive line that traditionally has been outstanding at this university. As for Peyton Manning, you see the story. The numbers are incredible. A young man that very easily could have been a redshirt freshman without having played a down coming into this season. Second and 20. Graham, not much room off the left side. South Carolina's defense has improved steadily under the tutelage of defensive coordinator Wally Burnham. Eric Sullivan is the catalyst in the middle. The linebackers probably are the strength of this team, though they are much more thin with the loss of Hank Campbell. The secondary led by Ben Washington, young man out of Tallahassee that Brad Scott brought over with him. And then you see Wally Burnham, who is a protege of Bear Bryant, was very critical, openly critical of his team prior to that LSU game, which turned out to be a benchmark tie for this program this year.
Absolutely. Turned his entire defense around.
Now you see the man that's sending in those plays for the Tennessee offense, Randy Sanders, getting his calls from David Cutcliffe out of the shotgun on 3rd and 18. 5 defensive backs for South Carolina, and the pass is complete to Maurice Staley. Well short of the first down as Aubrey Brooks made the tackle, and it's a punt formation for the Volunteers. Larry Binion will punt it away. His net punting just 32.4, but he's done an outstanding job with the pooch punt. You see, both of these teams have struggled in punt coverage this year. Niccolo will let it bounce, and it gets a Gamecocks roll out of bounds to about the 32-yard line. As our stat proves, they have struggled in the punt game, both of these teams. Tennessee leads at 7-0. Back after this word from your local station. Just over 6.5 remaining. Tennessee with a 7-0 lead over South Carolina. Peyton Manning on the phone upstairs to David Cutcliffe. They generally have a quick strike. So that's just the second time in 13 games that a defense has stopped Tennessee from scoring on its opening drive. A confidence builder, I'm sure, for Wally Burnham that his defense could build on. This is just the 4th running play for South Carolina out of 16 drives. It's Deuce Staley off the left side, stopped by Gallion, the linebacker.
They're going to respect Zola Davis. Just a little blocking downfield, little tussle, look face to face. Got his face mask. You let go of my face mask.
He and Terry Fair, that corner over there, sophomore out of Phoenix, Arizona. 2nd down, 9. This is exactly what South Carolina didn't need. A high snap, and Tannehill stopped at the 10. You know, after watching that fourth down play by that offense, it was apparent to me they lacked the necessary confidence that Brad Scott really needs today.
They certainly did. They certainly did. I've watched that snap from center, and it's been high the whole first series. Tannehill had to go up for that ball several times. That's Luther Dixon. He's a good center. He's a senior. He's a leader on this team. Surprising, but he has had trouble with that snap.
Yeah, if they can't operate out of the shotgun, they are in serious trouble. Now they're just trying to get some field position prior to the punt. So the Gamecocks, after that opening drive and that penalty at the 1-yard line, have gone steadily backwards.
Well, you get two great opportunities. You drive the ball all the way down there and you make a mistake on your offensive line. You said that's a 14-point swing. Then you get a great return. Gosh, you get a tremendous return, and you come away from those two series and you get no points. And most times offenses will just kind of start stumbling after that.
Gary Fair is back deep. He's joined by Sean Sumners. Jeff Coat to punt it away, and this is an end-over-end job that, again, exhibits the statistic we told you about earlier. The kicking game has been horrendous for both of these clubs. Just a 24-yard punt. Tennessee in great shape when Manning comes back. Tennessee with a 91-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown as the lead. Next week, Arkansas takes on Mississippi State from War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. A very big game there tonight between Arkansas and Auburn. The winner will be in the catbird seat in the Western Division of the Southeastern Conference. Manning on first down, dumps it. The official got in the way to help Cousin come up with the stop of Joey Kent. That's that little crossing pattern that has been a bread and butter play for this Tennessee offense.
Yeah, Joey Kent said, "Who was that guy?" The official just as he caught it, the official was right there, and he tried to roll off him. We can take another look at that. It's a quick strike right across. You only come just about 1 yard now. Just cut downfield and square off right across. He just dumps it to him. Now watch when he catches it right there. Boom, there's the official.
Oh, wait till Bobby Gaston gets a hold of that film, right? Got to be more nimble.
That's right.
Superintendent, supervisor of the officials, Bobby Gaston. As you see Graham going off the right side for a short game. Our Jefferson Pilot scoreline. Clemson up on Georgia Tech. Both of those teams are 3-2 coming in. And stayed up early in the Big Ten. Ohio State going up against Iowa. That could be a matchup of a contender against a pretender in the Big Ten.
Well, it's big down for Manning. This is where he uses that size to look downfield.
3rd down and 6. 4 wideouts for Manning. 3-step drop, and the pass is dropped by Graham. Boy, you rarely see that. Tennessee might be the best screen team in the country.
Absolutely. Although this is not a screen, this is just a drop over the center. They're trying to isolate him. He's going to be covered by Ronnie Smith, number 50. They think that's a mismatch. They can get downfield because Grant's got that great speed.
The reason I mentioned the screen is because that's where they utilize Graham as a receiver most often. And he very rarely drops it. No one is back for South Carolina to receive this punt.
And no one needs to be back. He kicked it into the stands almost.
And you know, that's an area that Binion has excelled in, although his average is down. When they've asked him to try the coffin corner, he generally has gotten the job done. Phil Fulmer encourages him along the sideline. 1st down 10. Again, a crowd of better than 90,000 on hand here at Neyland Stadium. Let's go down to Bob Kessling.
You know, today South Carolina's dressed in all white. They don't do that very often. In fact, Brad Scott brought that tradition back, the all-white uniforms. The last time they did it, they wore them against Clemson. They wore them in their bowl game. They won both of those games. They're hoping the white pants bring them luck today.
Tannehill, play action fake, and the pass is complete. At the 30-yard line, Darryl Nicklow, the senior out of Arcadia, Florida, comes up with a grab.
And you know, you talk about dressing for a game. I mean, you don't have to look around this stadium to know what Tennessee's color is. It's orange. In fact, it's so much orange that about 2 weeks ago in my church, when they played that Alabama game, I've got 2 friends, Gary and Paulette Anderson. They came to church dressed in orange and don't even live here in Tennessee. They
actually keep statistics here on how often the Rocky Top is played in games. First down and 10 for Tannehill. Post pattern drop by Means. Pass a little behind him, but certainly should have been caught. Goes incomplete. It'll be second down. Monty knows it.
You notice how all the receivers, you look at what comes out of the NFL, you see the nose Band-Aid, the breathing thing, Monty Means wears them. A lot of the players are wearing those. That little pincher on the nose keeps the nasal tubes open, they say. Tannehill doesn't wear one, though.
Give it a few years, it'll be outlawed.
Won't be part of the uniform.
Yep. Second down and 10. Nick Lowe gives motion. They don't have many running plays, but that one is very effective to Deuce Staley, who leads South Carolina in all-purpose yards. He's just shy of the first down at the 39-yard line.
A couple big blocks up front. Luther Dixon, 54, the center, gets a good block, as does Nesbitt. Nesbitt's the freshman. 6'6", 311-pound freshman.
Last time the Gamecocks needed a yard, they had a motion penalty that cost them big, cost them 7 points. This time they get almost nothing. That last lunge gives perhaps South Carolina the chance of a measurement. Deuce Staley lunging forward. It appears as if that he's about a half-yard shy.
Well, listen to the fans. They're going to say, let's go for it again. They went for it last time in this situation. 4th down and 1. Will they try it now? Tannehill's not coming off the field.
No, you've got a punt here.
I know. I'm thinking, what field position you would give him. Your defense has just responded and stopped him.
You cannot find fault with that decision by Brad Scott. You know, for all of the confidence Tannehill has, how about the guys up front?
Oh, boy, they do, too. Yes, they do.
Derwin Jeffcoat will punt it away.
Delay a game.
Yep. The decision, of course, had something to do with that as the delay penalty comes.
Boy, that compounds your punting problem. You just got off that last punt, was only 24 yards, I think it was. And now you penalize him 5 more yards back. He better get off a rocket this time.
Philip Fulmer, his team, perhaps the team with a loss in the country that has the best chance of moving up as the weeks fly by. Sean Summers is back deep. Better punt this time. Summers at the 25. Down at the 29-yard line. 41-yard punt, a 4-yard return, and they'll get a little help. Smith, Robert Smith, got that face mask.
I think I saw every flag come out on that one.
I think it'll be an interesting decision as to whether it was flagrant.
Yeah, well, it looked pretty flagrant. When you turn someone's head around like that, that's the flagrant one. What? He called it against Tennessee? Wait a minute. He signaled against Tennessee. Let's take a look at this. You can see the face mask. Now, the hand on the face mask is one thing, but when you see that head pulled around like that, if that's not flagrant, how they corrected and hear the fans.
Yeah, Rom just needed to determine north from south, and he did.
I believe that's flagrant.
Around the SEC is presented by Morgan Keegan, the South's premier investment firm. We mentioned earlier that key game between Auburn and Arkansas, the border wars between Florida and Georgia for the first time in 63 years. That game will be played in Athens. Werfel, who can throw the post corner better than anyone in the country, 16-3-1 as the starting quarterback with air ball and the fun and gun. 7-0 Tennessee. Peyton Manning with 5 wide receivers on first down. Quick pitch. Graham picks up 4, maybe 5 yards. That's more of what we thought we'd see from Tennessee on first down today.
Yeah, they like that run-pass option. You see Smith come up limping there. They can't afford to lose him in the middle. Number 50. Of course, with Hank Campbell already out, Smith's got big shoes, and they have no one behind those front three linebackers.
Jody Caldwell is floating as the only reserve linebacker. Second down and 6. Well, Wally Burnham's defense against the run has certainly improved as they smelled out that play from scrimmage, and the fans don't like it. Very upset with that call.
Well, they're turning around, and we knew that Tennessee was going to try South Carolina on the ground. But these people here want to see Peyton Manning pass the football.
Benji Young made the stop. 6 running plays, 2 passes so far from Tennessee as the first quarter winds to a halt. The big play, the blocked field goal by the Tennessee Volunteers, leading to a Tyrone Hines 91-yard return and a 7-0 lead. In the SEC, Peyton Manning with a 3rd down and 6 as we open the second quarter. Manning with plenty of time. That pass nearly picked off. Benji Young had a chance to get it. The pass intended for Joey Kent.
But boy, what pressure Caldwell got from the inside. He took an inside track and got good pressure.
Let's take a look at our Lee apparel first quarter stats. I think noticeable the conservative Tennessee approach on offense, netting just 12 yards through the air.
Well, we're not going to get to the 1,000 that I had said we might, but it's been an offensive show, certainly for South Carolina, but they come away with no points.
This punt is angling Nicklow inside the 10. He calls fair catch at the 5.
Ooh, mistake. Kicking game mistake.
You know, it's something that we've talked about many times, and I certainly understand why you have to have the 20-hour practice limitation. I understand the point that the NCAA has made, but people want to watch great offense and defense, and when you have breakdowns in the kicking game, that makes a mockery of the game, and it's certainly that I think it's very noticeable that that's the aspect of the game that suffers most.
Yes, it suffers the most. It certainly does. But there's a cardinal rule in football. You stand on the 10-yard line on that kick, and if it goes over your head, you don't back up.
So now the Gamecocks operate from the 6-yard line. They had 71 yards on their opening possession, minus 12 since. And a marker goes down again. Deuce Staley.
Wow. He had a break in there. He saw that hole to the backside, and he just skirted through it.
Before the snap, false start on the offense, half the distance, still first down.
It appeared to be Nesbitt, the left guard, that moved prematurely.
Well, it could have been Wheeler in there, too. Let's look at it. Yeah, it's left. Yeah, it's Wheeler. Randy Wheeler, 75. He gets mentioned.
And the bottom line is that play was open.
Well, I think in this situation you got to throw for it.
1st and 13 after the penalty. Staley bounces off one would-be tackler and manages the 7-yard line. Gallion the first to hit him.
Boy, good yards after the contact. Staley actually got hit on the line. He got hit right on the line. He's going to go to his left. Burton comes in there and hits him there. Now Burton doesn't wrap him up. You see him break free. Now he picks up about 5-6 yards after the contact.
2nd down and 8 after the 5-yard pickup. Play fake out of the eye. Tannehill looking for the corner, and he finds Corey Bridges for a first down.
Well, there was good separation there between the corner, but I just thought that ball was a lame duck going out there. It just hung up for such a long time. Now there's Zola Davis, 21, turning back inside. Did you see that duck coming in there? That's one that Tannehill says, I got to put a little bit more oomph on. But he gets the first down with it.
Look at that. That is incredible. I don't care who you're playing.
Well, that's when you're playing in that zone. You've just got all the confidence in the world. You don't worry about the rush. You don't worry about interceptions. You just take chances.
Well, the running game for Staley has been there. The problem has been South Carolina's line has had premature movement prior to most of those running plays as Staley gets free yet again. Stop made by Tyrone Hines, who's been the most active defender for the Volunteers. 4 stops and, of course, the only touchdown.
They're trying to redress Staley in there. They're pulling down his shirt over top of his pads. But this is a good series for South Carolina. They've taken a deep breath. They've moved the ball from their own 3-yard line. They've moved it out and getting out of trouble.
2nd and 3.
Here comes an audible on the line. You see the quick audible.
even with the help and protection, they couldn't stop the Volunteers. Raymond Austin, the strong safety, coming in on the blitz. Austin is a spiritual leader for this team.
He's also the number 2 tackler. Watch this, late delay blitz. No place for Tannehill to go except down. But Austin coming in, as you said, he is the real leader in that secondary. 57 tackles coming into the game.
His first sack. Paul Beckwith, by the way, has come in at the center spot after Luther Dixon's problems with that poor snap. So Beckwith, 53, is in the game at center. Tannehill's out pattern caught by Pritchard at the 22, and he is quickly moved out of bounds. Ushered by a horde of players in orange. Jesse Sanders, the first to get there.
Well, you got to be careful on a play like that. You want enthusiasm, and they're piling to the ball. That's exactly what you want. But once he gets out of bounds, you've got to slow it down. Good series there for Tennessee. You know, I didn't think the pass was caught. I thought the ball skipped. That may be what Tannehill was arguing about. I thought the ball skipped to him. He caught it real low.
Yep.
But the play continued. Now they bring it all the way back to the line of scrimmage.
Right, and a late call indeed.
Yeah.
That will force Jeffcoat again to punt the ball from about, his 8-yard line. And his first one netted only 24 yards. Summers is back deep. Summers may be too far back. Look at that hole open up for Terry Fair. Fair gets it down to the 42-yard line. Excellent field position again for the Volunteers on offense when we return to Knoxville. Before you die, you need to get with the Vol Navy and come up the Tennessee River from Huntsville for the game with Alabama. That's a beautiful sight to see.
Incredible. This stadium built right along the river.
Off the right side, Jay Graham. Pickup of about 5 on first down with just over 12 minutes to play here in the second quarter.
Little mascot intimidation there.
The announcers for today's game are selected and compensated by Jefferson Pilot Sports. This broadcast is a copyright presentation. Any use of this broadcast without the express permission of the Southeastern Conference and Jefferson Pilot Sports is prohibited. Smith all over Jay Graham. You know, many times the games live up to the billing. The preseason hype for a matchup between these two quarterbacks led to these kinds of articles and headlines this week nationally. So far, Tannehill has been putting the ball in the air. Unfortunately, mistakes have cost his team. Peyton Manning not throwing as much as we anticipated, and when he has, they've been very safe passes.
Well, when's the last time you saw a Tennessee team this late into the second quarter without a first down?
Well, how about this? 3 straight drives, 3 and out.
Ball before the snap. Illegal substitution on the offense. Has 12 players in the huddle. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
Well, one of the things that Philip Fulmer told me yesterday, he says, you know, Manning has really not had a bad game yet. He said, and I hope he doesn't have one tomorrow. Well, this is not that he's having a bad game, but it hasn't been a good game for him.
Well, remember, they're coming off an open date after a big monkey or gorilla came off their back against Alabama. Maybe they were overlooking South Carolina. What do you think? National championship flag blowing in the wind, and it is, in fact, blowing, wrapping around the flagpole today here in Knoxville. Wally Burnham's defense has been impeccable against this Tennessee juggernaut. Third down, 14 to go. Low snap to Manning, but he's got wide open terrain. You know, he was very close to the first down, and then because he wanted to hit the turf before being hit, he came up short.
But look at him. He went to the sideline. He wants to be that leader. He said, Coach, let's go for it. The ball snapped off to the side. They've had a lot of trouble snapping the ball today. It's not that cold where it changes the texture of the ball field. He just ad-libs and makes a great play out of it. 4th down and 2. The Volunteers with their running game. And on paper, this team with their offensive front, the likes of Lehman and Smith and Bubba Miller, should be able to run tackle to tackle.
One setback, that obviously is Graham. 4 wideouts, Kent in motion. Manning rolls. And in a pass more reminiscent of his father Archie Manning at Ole Miss, he completes it to the corner to the motion back, Joey Kent.
Yeah, they were trying to get Kent on that motion. You isolate him one-on-one with the backer. That was his primary receiver on that play. He rolls strong side and finds him downfield. You know, you make the comparison a lot of times to his father. He's really nothing like his father. He doesn't have the same mechanics. You see the yardage through the first 17 games, but look at Archie's interceptions. Quite a difference between, of course, he was a running type quarterback, roll out, scramble, look downfield, and make something out of nothing. This young man, Peyton Manning, he is just a mechanical quarterback. Great skills.
Incomplete, and a flag. Terry Cousin will be guilty, trying to defend Maurice Staley.
Pass interference on the defense. Offense ball, spotted a foul, first down.
Again, you can't make contact with him before the ball gets there. Good pressure up the middle. Good ad-lib there by Manning. You just can't make contact. Good pressure right here. Watch the pressure here. That's Caldwell, 89. Forces him out of the pocket.
1st and 10 from the Gamecocks 20 for Tennessee. They lead 7-0. Graham has room near a first down. Appears to be a yard or so shy. Arturo Freeman comes up, the freshman out of Orangeburg, South Carolina, at free safety to make the stop.
Well, when you start to run that pass and you run it with success, it opens up the running game. This is just an excellent run by Graham. We talked about the yardage that he has had. He's a great back. He changes direction. He protects the ball well. He's got a good average per carry.
Defined as a power runner with speed. 2nd down and a yard to go. Manning, incomplete, marker down again. Troop over there defending. Pass intended for Kyler. Falls incomplete.
Well, this was another good ad-lib. When you're back under pressure, and Manning is under pressure, he gets great pressure on him. He just comes up and just fires that bullet. Again, watch the pressure up the middle. Bang, right there. He's got him right in his face. Now, just kind of square up, get your confidence back, deliver that strike. That pressure by Robert Smith, number 44. Again, watch Smith come in here. He's going to get good pressure outside the back now. He's got the pressure on him.
On the defense, in the end zone. Ball is moved from the previous spot to the 2-yard line. First down.
Penalties beginning to take their toll on a team that has been penalized far too often for Wally Burnham to deal with. And you look at that statistic inside the red zone. Perhaps only Florida is better than Tennessee in this league in that area of the game. They don't settle for threes. They get 7.
34 out of 38 times they scored. You say, well, gosh, what happened those other 4 times?
Touchdown, Chester Ford.
Again, big man on big man. The strength of Tennessee is their offensive line, those big seniors in the middle, Smith, Bubba Miller, and Lehman. And they just drive them off the ball.
That's just the 2nd touchdown of the season for Ford, the junior out of Danville, Kentucky. That running back spot that they generally don't utilize in their run game. Hall, wow, just managed to get that knuckleball through. Chester has his touchdown in the power game, a 4th down conversion, the catalyst on that drive. 14-0 Tennessee in a game that South Carolina has played particularly well in. Wally Burnham, the defensive coordinator, I think upset about the interference call in the end zone, giving some lip to the officials during the timeout.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. His son Shane says, you know, a lot of people come to our games just to watch Coach. He said, watch my dad, who we call Coach, walk up and down the sideline tearing into people. And he is. He's very, very emotional out there. He was upset.
Well, this is a game, frankly, that a lot of things have to break for you and to have a chance of winning. And clearly, they have hurt themselves. And, of course, the penalties have been a factor. You see the scoring drive, 6 plays, 41 yards, just over 3. And, of course, the big 4th down conversion on the rollout to Joey Kent kept the drive alive. Hooch kick by Hall. Fair catch is called for by the upback, Rodney Brown, the tight end. Steve Tannehill, who coming into this game was number 1 in the SEC in passing, number 4 in the nation. And you know, he was snubbed for SEC Player of the Week for Danny Werfel a couple of weeks ago, and then he came back to become SEC Player of the Week off that Vanderbilt game.
I think there was an offsides call on this. I didn't see the flag. Yes, now I do. I see it on the 35.
On the kicking team, penalty decline.
Yeah, you decline when you get the ball out to 35.
Yeah, and that's another reason is because you don't want to have your tight end call for a fair catch again. Let's go down to Bob Kessler.
The Tennessee offensive line started to establish itself on that last drive, the touchdown drive for the Volunteers, something the Volunteers take a lot of pride in. In fact, as you mentioned, they're a senior group. Also, Jason Lehman is unusual. He has started at all 3 different positions, center, guard, and tackle, and the only guy that's ever done that for Tennessee, Bubba Miller and Jeff Smith also play guard and center, so it's a very versatile group.
Monty Means, the intended receiver on that pass, incomplete. There, the offensive lineman that Bob alluded to.
I think that's Bubba.
Yeah.
When you're that big, that's why you get nicknamed Bubba.
Well, think about all of the offensive linemen that have been playing in the National Football League, playing on Sunday. So many of them.
Oh, yeah.
Out of Tennessee. 2nd and 10. Forward handoff to Staley. Staley negotiates for 3 or 4, mostly on his own. Steve White, number 64, the senior out of Memphis, Tennessee. He and Leonard Little coming over from that defensive end to collaborate.
Well, I'll tell you this, Little, he may wear number 1, but he's the number 1 person out there on the defensive line today. He is all over the place. You can't knock him down. He's got great speed. Not great size, but great speed.
They'll have to improve that stat. 3rd down and 7. Tannehill flat on his back again.
Boy, and that one had to hurt. And guess who? Number 1. Again, Leonard Little. I mean, he comes from the left side, and Tannehill doesn't see him. He's on the back side. Now, right there. Bam!
Pritchett did a very poor job of blocking that time. They kept him back for protection purposes, and he just didn't get it done.
You know, he was so tentative. He just kept on sitting back, and he ran right around him. But sometimes Tannehill really comes to life when he gets knocked down hard like that.
Beautiful punt this time from Jeff Cote. It will roll dead at the 17, maybe the 18-yard line, and we've got another flag down. Back around the 36-yard line of South Carolina. It's a 46-yard punt.
I think it's going to go against Tennessee. It's probably going to be holding. That's usually a call on punts. When you get a little bit tired, you kind of grab a little bit on those wideouts, and that's the area where that flag was thrown.
That really gives the Gamecocks a chance for field position if they can come up with a stop here defensively.
Holding on the receiving team. Ball occurred downfield. Penalties half the distance from where the kick ends. 1st down.
Here's a look at this week's Burger King Top 10 fan poll, where you, the fan, votes for who's number 1. Now, as you look at this, consider the fact that Tennessee is 6th in your poll. They're 5th in the others that really matter. I suggest to you that they have the chance of moving up as all of the other teams get knocked off. USC helped them last week. They need big help from Notre Dame. Stop by your local Burger King restaurants to find out how you can cast your vote. Pick up of a couple for Graham off the left side, as they have now consistently gone to the run on 1st down.
Yeah, that's what we thought that they would do, come out and test South Carolina's interior, and that's what they seem to be doing. They seem to, all of a sudden, it seems as if Tennessee's just kind of taking a deep breath, got back in their offensive plan. Those first 3 series, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, that is not Tennessee offense.
Henry Taylor, the sophomore from Barnwell, South Carolina, made the stop. 2nd down and 8. Graham the other way. Young misses a tackle, and it really cost South Carolina. Ben Washington finally takes him out, but Benji Young, the redshirt freshman, only 203 pounds, out of Rock Hill, gets a lesson in arm tackling a proficient back like Graham.
Yeah, when you're a wide out here, I mean a defensive back, you've got to be able to grab that arm. When he straight arms you grab that arm, you hold on, you don't let it go for about 15, 18 yards. Again, watch Young. When he gets straight armed here, he just doesn't grab onto anything, just falls down.
First down 10. Up over the 30-yard line goes Mark Levine, number 19, freshman out of Dallas, Texas. They were thinking he may get to carry the ball a bit more in today's game because they thought they would be on the ground a little more than would be the norm under Phil Fulmer.
I thought an interesting comment by Brad Scott this week was Tennessee is a better football team than we are, but they've got to come out and prove it on Saturday.
Second down and 6. Manning. Complete. That's the first down to Eric Lane. Again, coming out of the backfield, and they'll utilize that time and time again. The junior out of East Orange, New Jersey, has a 17-yard gain.
Yeah, fake it to him, come out on the line, find him out in the flat, catch the ball quickly, turn upfield, and get yardage. You know, an interesting thing is that Manning has thrown to 16 different receivers this year. That's a lot of different receivers. That shows depth.
Fulmer and Cutcliffe, the offensive coordinator, take great pride in their run-pass balance and recruit to it here. Plenty of time. Well, they're in sync now. That's a completion to the 39 for a first down to Greg Kyler in front of Joe Troop. Troop is a converted tailback, junior out of Tampa, Florida, that has helped this Gamecocks defense in the last 3 weeks.
And now you get the feeling again, Tennessee is getting into that offensive scheme. Those big linemen up front giving Manning a lot of time. No pressure on him. Find him out in the flat. Get that one-on-one situation, and bang, just deliver that strike to him.
Out of the I formation. Now, generally, this means a play-action boot. This time they'll run it straight up the middle. Their only pass play out of the I is that bootleg action, similar to the one we saw completed to Joey Kent.
Yeah, they do that little play fake action into the line and then bootleg out, and he picks up the wide receiver. But you're right. When they're in that I formation, it's almost solid run.
Sylvester Miller made the tackle. Peyton Manning, sophomore out of New Orleans, highly touted prospect coming out. Played some basketball at the high school level, and with his height, you can certainly understand why. Nothing doing up the middle. Levine getting the carry. And again, you can hear that the crowd here that's very sophisticated when it comes to football. Not at all happy with the play selection.
Well, they just know the quarterback that Peyton Manning is, and they say, we want to see him throw it. You know, the one thing I think of when I look at Peyton Manning, he's so young. I looked at him yesterday in the interview. I don't even know if he shaves yet. If he does, it's only down on the chin. But he's got such good focus. He doesn't let all the outside things clutter him up.
Mature beyond his years. They're 0 for 4 on third down conversions today. Quick drop again. Manning. Joey Kent, touchdown! We talked about being mature beyond his years, and there is the example.
Sure is. Focus downfield, look downfield, find your wide receivers, you're under pressure, step up in your pocket, have confidence in your offensive line, and then instead of running it, a lot of quarterbacks would have put that ball down and run it. He just finds that little Joey Kent coming across the middle, bang, just throws about a 5-yard pass, but the result is about a 30-yard run.
You know, you hear me say, oh, what a pass. Well, I'm impressed most with the idea and the composure, not necessarily the arm speed.
Yeah.
Lee, there you see the scoring drive. As I mentioned, we talk about the swings, the 14-point swing at the outset of this game on the return by Hines off the block. Now, this really hurts your confidence defensively when you give this up.
Yeah, when you drive 91 yards, you've got your defense really reeling.
High kick towards the sideline, and Staley tries to work free and is up to the 25-yard line. Down to Bob Kessler.
You know, Joey Kent just caught that touchdown pass. Kent is a very unselfish team player. In fact, this week, he offered and volunteered to run on the scout team against the first-team defense so they could simulate and get adjusted to the speed of Zola Davis and some of the South Carolina wide receivers.
Tannehill needs to come up with a drive in a hurry. Now, this one could get out of hand quickly. Quick pitch to Staley. Deuce does manage the corner and is ushered out of bounds beyond the 30, near the 31-yard line by Terry Fair, the sophomore out of Phoenix, who very talented player, had success as a freshman a season ago, and his brother Brian played a lot for Coach Calhoun at UConn in the Big East Conference. So a very talented family out of Phoenix, Arizona. Second down and 3. Staley again close to the necessary yardage for the first down. Gallion made the tackle. Have you noticed, Dave, since the poor snap from center, that they've almost gotten away from the shotgun?
Yes, they have. They're going up under center, and that's really different to me. That opens up the running game, because what happened is, and I thought about the coldness of the ball. You see Beckwith in there because they've had that problem with Luther Dixon in there on that bad snap, but now they're going under center, and that really is surprising me. Not on 3rd down and 1, of course, but on the 1st and 2nd down.
Quarterback sneak should net the first down for Tannehill. Leonard Little and Gallion combine on the stop.
And what I was trying to make, the point I was trying to make is that you try to think, why does a center have trouble snapping the ball? You think maybe it's cold and the texture of the ball changes. But Luther Dixon did not snap that whole first series. When they drove 90 yards, he just did not snap well. Now Beckwith is in. Maybe Luther Dixon has something hurt. Maybe he hurt a hand or something, but he did not snap well the whole first series.
Now they go to the shotgun. We haven't seen much of it. Well, they'll revert back and go to the straight eye. Tannehill, incomplete to Staley. And since that happened, since that poor snap, this offense has not been in sync. And he desperately needs the additional time that comes from being in the shotgun.
Well, he does. He likes being a shotgun because he can look downfield. We asked him yesterday, we said, when you get in trouble, what do you do? He said, I look out there for Zola Davis. Well, he needs a Zola Davis on this situation. He needs to take some of the steam or some of the wind out of Tennessee's sails quickly here.
He's 0 for his last 4, and he completed 7 of his first 8. Well, it's wide open this time for Staley. If he makes the corner, look out. Staley to the 23. That is as big a running play as you'll see from South Carolina as Staley gets up gingerly.
Well, Staley made a tremendous cut right here. He looks as if he's going to go outside. He picked up a couple good blocks, but right here, he's right on the border. I'm not going out of bounds. I'm going to cut back inside, breaks a tackle there, breaks another one there, and it took a long time to bring him down. Now watch Zola Davis's block right here. He's a get-in-the-way man. That's on Deron Jenkins. He just kind of gets in his way, and it just disrupts his timing on the tackle.
They've really improved in that area, their wide receivers, with their blocking schemes. Tannehill will pull up, tuck it, and down he goes after a 5, maybe a 6-yard gain near the 17-yard line. Craig King, who had that hamstring pull against Arkansas, back into the game after Jesse Sanders got the start. He and Ron Green combine on the tackle.
I think Deuce Staley may be coming out of the game. He may be hurt. He came limping off to the sideline. Boy, if he's hurt, that takes a lot out of their running game.
Could press Mike Reddick into the game, and it does. Number 25, Reddick, the senior of Miami, is in the game along with Pritchett.
He's going to call timeout. He looked over to see if Staley was going to come back. He said, he can't come back. He said, what play are we going to run, Coach? We're going to call timeout.
Gamecocks have got to come away with points here, and one would think those points need to be 7.
Yes, they do. They have to have 7 points in this situation. They just have. It's so hard to overcome those mistakes when you make them, especially against a team like Tennessee. This is a top 10 team. I mean, this is a team that's on their way to a huge bowl game. We saw all the bowl scouts. You were up having soda pops with all of them.
Yeah, they are here in full, and any help at all from Air Force against Notre Dame would allow them the opportunity, should Tennessee win out, have a chance to join the alliance and perhaps wind up in the Fiesta Bowl. This is a team, Tennessee, that has a better chance of the national title than the SEC title. Down to Bob Kessler.
We'll check 10 scores around the country coming up in college football, the leaders in the SEC. And you talked about the Bowl Alliance. We'll talk with the SEC Commissioner, Roy Kramer, to try and get his thoughts, and maybe we can get him to kind of sort things out for us a little bit, at least how the SEC teams fit into that. That's all coming up at halftime in just a couple of minutes.
All right, Bob, we look forward to it. And, of course, Roy Kramer and his lovely wife were at that dinner last night that I attended with all of the bowl representatives.
I got a hug from the First Lady of the Southeastern Conference today, Mrs. Kramer.
Second down and 4. Seventh play of the drive. Quick pitch. Well, you know, they took that timeout that allowed Staley the opportunity to get back in. And the chains will move. Noel made the stop.
Again, power football. Just run out there, get the big guys out in front of you. And they do. They get a couple good blocks there by their line. You can see right there, I thought that was a face mask, but I think he had the side of his helmet. Now he gets up and starts saying, see, he puts his hand on his face mask, saying face mask, but I think he had the side of his helmet.
Staley has 83 yards on the ground on 11 attempts.
A lot of confusion down here. They're not used to taking this much time.
Staley dots the I. Pritchett. Incomplete. The fade pattern was absolutely wide open. Tannehill was pressured, and it had an effect on that pass that was a bit high as he tried to lead his back coming out of the backfield.
Boy, and an excellent call there by the official, in perfect position to make the call. As Pritchett comes out of the backfield, you see how high the ball is thrown. Watch him. He gets one hand on the ball, but watch his right foot. When he comes down, see his right foot right there on the line. He's got control. Now he drops the ball late, but a good call by the official.
South Carolina can get a first down without benefit of the touchdown. Second and 10 from the 11. Tannehill, Bridges, touchdown. No, they'll rule him out. No, now there's an overrule. There is an overrule. It is a touchdown.
You know what it was? It was the checkerboard end zone. That's what the official saw and thought he was out of the end zone. The end zone marker is about 2 yards behind that checkerboard. You mentioned the checkerboard earlier. Where did that checkerboard background come from? But again, it's just a perfect pass.
That's his third touchdown catch, Corey Bridges, the junior out of Noonan, Georgia. And you know, that's true. The checkerboard factor came into play. The overrule came in a hurry from the line judge after the official trailing said no, he had gone out of bounds.
He definitely looked out. I could just look down the end. He just looked down there, and he saw that checkerboard, and when he came down, he was right on the outside of it, and he assumed he was out of the end zone.
Markers go down again. Corey Bridges, who had the touchdown catch very similar to that against Vanderbilt last week, loves to run that post corner.
It's going to be against South Carolina.
Before the snap, ball start on the offense. 5 yards. Repeat the try.
The checkerboard, the origin of the checkerboard end zone comes from Doug Dickey, who began that. And you remember, it's a sort of a throwback. It reminds me of the old days when they used to have the diamonds. Remember that? They used to have diamond end zones.
Oh, yeah, big diamonds in the end zone. Of course, then they went to names, but this checkerboard, when you see that checkerboard and you see it in those colors, you know where you are. Then you hear Rocky Top in the background all the time.
But there is some room beyond that checkerboard, which I think was the illusion you were alluding to, that the official saw, that meant that in his mind it might have been out of the field of play.
Yeah, that's what I think he looked down, because the official was behind the play. That was a beautifully thrown ball. It was over top of the defender, yet to the receiver in enough room to get him down with both feet down in the foot down in the end zone.
Extra point is good, and South Carolina gets what it had to have, and that is a touchdown.
Well, let's take some looks at this. Again, you see the back line of the checkerboard. Out to the flats, you have to throw over the defender. The official coming from the right. That's Austin. Good pressure there. Now, again, there's Austin in. But you see when he comes down right there, his feet are clearly in, but he's outside of that checkerboard. That was Austin on the defense.
There's the overrule.
Again, let's take another. Maybe we can take a different look at it from this situation. But again, well-thrown ball. Now, watch when he comes down with it. See right there, he was right on that checkerboard. That's what the official called.
Now, you never saw the trailing official, but he was blowing him out of the field of play, just out of your picture, and then the overrule came very quickly, something that you love to see the officials get it right, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, such a crucial series, such a crucial play for South Carolina. As you said, Tim, they had to come away with a score on that, or it could get ugly early. But a good drive, 9-play drive, 76 yards. That was an excellent play.
Tannehill's stats now are improving. He's 11 of 20 for 89 yards. As you see, Steve Florio, who can kick it a long way. He is their deep kicker, preparing to kick to Terry Fair, who is back deep. He and Sean Summers. There's Fair. And someone will have to hold for South Carolina this time. It'll be Kerry Hood, backup wide receiver. A young man that has been pressed into duty. So many of those players that they felt they could redshirt, they're now having to utilize this season. Fair will take it in at his 3. Special teams breaking down again for the Gamecocks. Marker down at the South Carolina 39. Tennessee should come away with good field position, but will wait for the flag.
I think that's going to be offsides against South Carolina. Where that flag is thrown is right along the line of scrimmage. That's what the call is. It's against South Carolina, so Tennessee will take the position midfield.
Now, you hate to beat a dead horse, but
On the kicking team, 3 men on side of the kicker. Kicking team, penalty decline.
Well, they lined up.
how many more mistakes can you see this deep into a season from your special team? That man, Brad Scott, has seen far too many.
Well, this is big break right here. Great block right there to break them free. Now find that little seam, get up to the outside. Now you're in a dash trying to keep them in bounds. You see everybody turn around, just kind of use the sideline. But great field position for Tennessee.
Chris Abrams finally came away with the tackle. Graham trying to bounce outside. Very difficult to run sideline to sideline against South Carolina. Krupp and Ronnie Smith combine on the stop.
You know, that it's not the same South Carolina team that we saw early in the season. It is not on defense. They are flying to the football. They know they've got an uphill battle today, but they are really playing strong football.
Ronnie Pillow is checking the game for the Volunteers. That pass completed to him. Ron Neely is over there to make the tackle as Tennessee goes hurry up, and the clock continuing to tick with 1:20 left in the first half.
They have 2 timeouts, Tennessee does. You'd think that they would want to use one soon here as we tick down under a minute. Now all of a sudden we have a whistle.
South Carolina may have called for a timeout.
They did.
Yep, they sure did. Wally Burnham did not like what he saw on the sidelines as Manning brought his team up, so he elected to call the timeout.
Well, it's a big 3rd down. It's 3rd down about 6. You want to keep this drive alive. You want to go into the locker room. I think Tennessee, just as much as South Carolina, wants to go in the locker room on a positive note. You know, it's interesting. Wally Burnham will tell you his wife had a lot to do with their defensive change. He said, I was sitting there, man, I was disgusted. It was the low point of my career. He said, our defense wasn't stopping anybody. He said, my wife turned around and said, you got to start picking up rocks, build the China wall.
That's right.
David and Goliath.
That's what this game is. He said, what we've got to do today is throw some rocks at Tennessee and see what we come up with. In truth, though, he took some heat publicly, as most assistant coaches would, after being openly critical of his team and the effort that they were given. And shortly after he was critical, psychologically, it obviously worked.
Well, it did, because I'm telling you this. The first couple games that we saw South Carolina, they were not running to the football. They were not a hungry defense. You want your defense hungry. I mean, when they snap that ball, you want 11 people flying to the football. We saw that against LSU and just remarked that they may have the same numbers, but they were not the same team.
Tennessee is 1 of 5 in third down conversions. 3rd and 6 here.
Manning to Kent. First down. Touchdown.
Over the top, quick post. That's their favorite play.
That's his favorite play. Loves that post play when they're in the man-to-man. And you'll see this. Not a lot of pressure on him. You've got to get pressure. 3rd down and 6. And he throws a strike. You can't miss tackles either. Because when you do, Joey Kent, all you see is you read the back of his name on the jersey.
And again, a reminder. Special teams breakdown on the kickoff. Leads to 7 for the opposition. They got the ball on the plus side of the field, and a team like Tennessee will make you pay. Guess what? On the extra point, a marker's down.
Well, it's got to be against South Carolina because the Tennessee team is running off the field. No, it is. It's against Tennessee. Personal foul. They'll mark it on the kickoff and take it over again and get the good. Hope they get the good field position.
Personal foul on Orange, 15 yards on the kickoff.
South Carolina has 1 timeout remaining. Philip Fulmer obviously upset with his team because of that penalty, and you give up field position to a guy like Tannehill, who can move down, particularly with a timeout.
Yeah, he has 1 timeout left. He's got over a minute left, and they're going to get good field position because Tennessee's going to have to kick off from their 20-yard line. And there's a man who's done it before many times.
His steady improvement when you consider all of the turmoil of the South Carolina program that he had to endure. Many different assistant coaches, of course, the change from Sparky Woods to Brad Scott. But look at the steady progress that he's made, particularly the touchdown to interception ratio.
Boy, it's an incredible one. 25 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. 5 interceptions is an amazing thing. Now he's over 150-some passes without an interception. He is really in the zone. He's playing extremely good football. You look at the last 3 games, they got over 1,100 yards offense in the last three games.
And people will say, well, it was a non-conference game with Kent, followed by 2 dormants of the league, Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. But I would suggest to you that when you've thrown that many passes against SEC competition, 2 of those 3 games, I'm impressed.
I am also. You can go 7-on-7 where you don't have the lines involved, and not many quarterbacks will complete 75% of their passes as he has done.
Hall to boot it away. Staley. Deuce Staley to the 39-yard line. That's where the Gamecocks will open. Sean Summers down there to make the stop for the Volunteers. Talked about the kicking game and how important it has been for both of these teams. You see the scoring drive coming off a 51-yarder after the return got them to the 49-yard line. Kent with the 48-yard touchdown reception. 56 seconds left in the half. 4 wideouts. Tannehill, outlet to Staley. Deuce Staley to the 46-yard line. 2nd down and 4 coming up. Bob Kessling.
Yeah, things aren't bad enough for South Carolina. Steve Florio, the place kicker, has injured his left ankle. They've got an ice bag on it. They will examine it at halftime. They don't know if he can come back in the second half.
Tannehill working sideline, incomplete. Deron Jenkins over there to provide coverage against Thomas Pritchard.
I think he's a right-footed kicker, so that's his plant foot. That is tough because that's the foot that you plant as you swing through. But you know what I look for Tannehill to do in this situation? Try to isolate Zola Davis. Get him one-on-one. He's the speed merchant. He's the one that's having the great year. He's the one that Tannehill likes to go to.
27 seconds left. 3rd down and 3 for Tannehill.
That pass is batted into the air and picked off. Shane Burton
It's one thing to tap the football, to tip it, but it's another thing to zero in and dive and catch it. Watch number 84, left of your screen. Up in the air, tips it. Now watch the concentration to go back and get the football. He actually dives out here and catches it on his fingertips. Now linemen have got those big taped hands. You see the hands all taped. What a play.
That is the first pass interception thrown by Tannehill in a month. 20 seconds left. Manning stops for Graham, who needs to get out of bounds and does at the 40-yard line.
Jeff Hall's got a long field goal of 53 yards, and he is an extremely accurate quarterback. 12 of 15 coming in here. He's about an 80% kicker, so they have to get a little bit closer for his range.
.153 passes had been thrown by Tannehill prior to that interception by Burton. Manning, quick post to the 15-yard line. Marcus Nash, the recipient this time.
And now he calls timeout quickly. Use that timeout. They had 2 timeouts, so they want to use one real quick. But again, post patterns have killed South Carolina today. Well, this is just a dart. Bang, right in the seam. Again, you can't miss tackles.
Yeah, the secondary looking a bit more in the last couple of series like the one we saw against Georgia rather than LSU.
When you start to think ifs and buts. If they had come down and scored on that first series, but they had that field goal blocked. I mean, those were huge swings, and it's awfully hard against a team as good as Tennessee to recover.
Well, let's face it, South Carolina is not going to beat a team of this caliber, of Tennessee's caliber, with its defense. I mean, for them to get the 3 stops in the first quarter consecutively, 3 and out, that had to be considered a real plus. Now, your offense has to go out there and score and do what they've been doing. And you know what? They lost their confidence when they didn't score on that opening drive.
Oh, that was just such a killer. Now, all of a sudden, you're sitting there, and only got 4 seconds left. You want to come away on a positive note. You can't have time. You don't have enough time to throw that touchdown pass and get another play in, so you've almost got to kick the field goal right now. That's why Hall's in. He's extremely good. 11 to 13 from this range.
Manning only had 12 yards passing at the end of one quarter. He now has 164 on 11 of 13. This is a 32-yard try for Jeff Hall. A fake. The holder, Jason Price with the touchdown.
Tim, you talked about their first 3 possessions when they got stopped. Their last 4 possessions have been touchdowns. That's an incredible turnaround. But what a heads-up call. You've ever seen the holder out of breath? He's out of breath. Had to break a tackle at about the 4-yard line. You know he'll talk about that one.
Junior backup quarterback, homespun star of the future, Jason Price. And the extra point gives the Volunteers, look, they're going to carry him off the field. Sounds as if Brad Scott had a dissertation or two at the intermission as you look at the numbers on Tannehill. The first down story by itself as a team tells you that were it not for the special teams breakdowns, the Gamecocks would be very much in the thick of this game. And I think Tannehill, once that 4 snap cost them yardage, that second series, having to go and play much of this game under center rather than out of the shotgun is really a detriment.
That really changed them. You know, they talked about the blocked field goal and, of course, that punt return, that kickoff return, but that snap over top of Tannehill's head, that one really set the tone in that first half.
Reed Morton will kick off. Of course, Florio, as we documented towards the end of the first half, did injure that left ankle. He would generally handle the kickoff chores. Terry Fair again is back deep inside the Volunteers 5 as they get the ball to make matters worse for South Carolina to open the second half. How many more times do you have to look at this? It's a grim sight for Brad Scott. I mean, they're going to be beyond the 40-yard line almost all day when South Carolina kicks. That's a 37-yard return for Fair. The possession's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. I mean, you just don't do that to Tennessee defensively. But then, second quarter, after breakdowns in special teams and a turnover, 4 straight touchdowns. Out of the I formation, quick hitch to Marcus Nash. Truth takes him down in his tracks. Third stop of the day for Truth at that cornerback spot.
And Tim, let me tell you what went on in that locker room of South Carolina, because I heard some key words from Brad Scott. We've got to suck it up. We've got to have pride. I'm sure that's what they called upon their team. They said, listen, we're not 35-7 at halftime that bad a team. We're a team that, with a few breaks, they could certainly be in this football game. I look for South Carolina to really play hard in this second half.
2nd and 9. There's that bootleg action out of the eye we were talking about. It's good for a first down to Nash again. Ben Washington made the stop. It's not as if Tennessee tries to fool you offensively.
No, they come out in that I formation. The only play they really do is run that play action fake with that little bit of a boot. Now, one of the problems that you have to realize, and again, let's take a peek at that real quick. Again, fake down the line right here now. Plant, come back on out. Now the bootleg action, one-on-one. There's the only play off that I formation. But one of the problems that South Carolina has is this Tennessee team is an outstanding offensive team.
Graham stopped near the line of scrimmage that time by Ron Neely, the cornerback, coming up, along with Benji Young with run support.
And you remarked about how Tennessee does not make mistakes. They're a very much a penalty-free team. They don't hurt themselves.
We chatted with Archie Manning at halftime. A Saint alum, my partner, he came in to say hello to us, and he said he's proud of Peyton Manning, not because of what he's accomplished this year, but because of the decisions he made and the way he's handling the success. Graham off the left side, 4, maybe 5. Sylvester Miller making the tackle. He mentioned that one of the reasons he chose Tennessee, he asked questions of everyone that recruited him, and he told his dad, they've got a great reputation for offensive linemen. And after having seen his father play, particularly with the Saints, he said, I think I'd like to have maximum protection.
Yeah. Archie didn't know what a pocket was. Archie said, I got a pocket on each side of my pants here. That's the only pocket that I know. But Peyton can stand back there with that big offensive line, take time, look downfield. He's got great height, great mechanics, and he's got great wide receivers.
3rd and 6. There's the delay to Graham. He'll be stopped shy of the first down. A couple of yards, maybe even 3 yards shy of that first down. Miller and Smith.
That's an interesting call. That's an interesting call. 3rd down, about 6 yards to go. He comes up 2 or 3 yards short, so your defense stops him. Now the question is, can they get that turbo offense back charged for South Carolina and get back in this football game? Really a difficult task.
The old offensive guard from 69 to 71 would like to see more of his offensive line down blocking on the run attack. This punt is headed to the end zone in checkerboard square for a touchback. 40-yard punt, but South Carolina will have it from their 20 when we come back. Just underway in the 3rd. Number 5, Tennessee, leading South Carolina.
Tim, you see one of the offensive intricacies of this offense of South Carolina. That's the matchup on the sideline. They huddle on the sideline. When they blow the whistle to start the game, they run on out. They don't even huddle when we have timeouts.
Yeah, take advantage of the TV timeout. This is like fast break basketball. It's like Arkansas, Kentucky on grass, if you follow the SEC. Quick pitch, fake reverse, nothing doing for Deuce Staley. Scott Gallion, the right side linebacker, making the tackle. Well, the possession chart for South Carolina, 71 yards leading to the blocked field goal, and that's the rest of the story.
Well, that really turned the game around. I think Brad Scott said it best when he said it's so hard to recover from something like that.
Dixon back in. He's had problems with the deep snap all year long. It really caught up to his team today. And you see they're not in the shotgun. Play fake for Tannehill. That means the pocket will close. Down he goes at the 10, and that is an offshoot of not being able to go out of the shotgun.
Now, Tannehill really likes that shotgun because he doesn't have to drop that 3 to 5 steps. See, when he's up underneath the center, it takes extra time. Now, it's drop, drop, drop. turn around, plant, get squared up, and you see by now the pressure's on him. He only has a second to look downfield. When he's in that shotgun, he takes the ball from the minute he gets the snap, he's looking downfield. He's got great vision downfield.
Leonard Little, his second sack of the day. Had to go to junior college to manage to make his way back to this Tennessee team after having been recruited so heavily, making the most of it since coming back. Tannehill looking for Davis up the middle, something you wanted to see more of. Jesse Sanders, 22, tipped it.
Yes, he did. He got a hand on it. I want to see him go a little bit deeper. I want to see him go to Means. I want to see him go to the outside to Zola Davis. And they have not been able to do that.
You know, if you're attempting a 5 to 7 step drop without the benefit of the shotgun, you've got Little and Steve White closing down on you. It makes the task far more difficult.
And when you got a 35 to 7 lead, you're not worried that much about the run.
Sean Summers awaits at his 40. Jeff Coke from the end zone. Fair. Look out. A wide open seam to the 21-yard line.
And the kicker makes the tackle.
42-yard punt, 32-yard return.
And you know the amazing thing, they don't even have to move the chains. The chains are in the exact same spot. Look at this. Coverage downfield. You've got to get downfield. This is a punt. You've got to get the ball up high enough so that you get coverage. There's nobody laying a hand on them. Now the kicker comes in and makes the tackle.
Tennessee from the 21-yard line running out of the I. 4 minutes deep. It is the third period. Graham down to the 11-yard line. Terry Fair, we were mentioning how well Tennessee has handled the returns through this season. Terry Fair handling punts for the first time today. I'm sure he'll get a few more chances after the impact he's had. We've got an injured volunteer at the 21-yard line. Appears to be Ford, Chester Ford, the fullback.
It's amazing. Graham is probably saying, I'm glad we got this lead because now maybe I'll get a few carries, get some yards, get some times to run the football.
You know, it's interesting talking about Peyton Manning with his basketball background. You know, he is a young man that was a backup and also a teammate of Randy Livingston at Newman High School, the outstanding guard from LSU who's been beset with a torn ACL. Let's go down to Bob Kessling. Bob?
Yeah, there's an injured Gamecock on the sideline. Hank Campbell, sorry to hear about your knee injury, but give us an update on it, where you stand right now.
Right now, I'm 6 to 9 months worth of rehab left, and I tore my ACL, LCL, my PCL along with my calf and hamstring, so it's a pretty vicious injury that I had.
They're going to the line of scrimmage.
Peyton Manning on first down. Coming back the other way. Good pressure from South Carolina, but once Graham makes the corner look out, Kilgore comes up to make the tackle.
Your injury basically was just a fluke thing in practice, wasn't it?
Right. If you watch it on film and you watch the blow, I took a helmet to the inside of the knee, and really, when I got hit, you know, it was a bad hit, and it hurt, but it didn't look like it'd be that type of injury.
Hank, we hope your football career's not over, and good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
Hank Campbell, the outstanding linebacker of the Gamecocks, Tim.
Yeah, and really hurt this team. He was an emotional leader for this club defensively. 2nd down and 6. Benji Schuler has come into the game at a wideout. Not much room for Graham that time. Good penetration from South Carolina defensively. Henry Taylor making the stop, the defensive tackle.
Tim, did you hear Hank Campbell talk all about his different ligaments that he tore? PCL, ACL, and the lateral collateral. I mean, they become actually medical doctors as we look at that run in the middle. But really, these guys, when they get injured today, it's not, oh, I tore something or pulled a muscle. So I tore my posterior cruciate ligament, my anterior cruciate ligament, which are the X up in the middle, and I tore my lateral collateral on the outside of the knee.
4 wide receivers up at the top on 3rd down from the 8-yard line, and Manning goes gun. Down he goes. Aubrey Brooks, 43, cracks through, the senior out of Sumter, South Carolina. Has been a steadying influence for this club. We mentioned their linebackers as a whole have been probably their best position defensively from the beginning of the season to this point in late October.
And you see blitzing. You see outside linebackers coming. That's Brooks, 43, the outside linebacker, and that's the first sack of Manning.
That's only the 9th time he's been stopped for a sack this year.
We see this overload on South Carolina. That's why they were able to run that fake field goal.
Problems this time for Tennessee as Lee Wiggins gets through to get a piece of that one, much to the chagrin of Philip Fulmer, who prides himself as an elite team with its special teams aspect of the game. 35-7 our score. Tennessee leads. Back after this word from your local SEC station. Picked off. Taken out of the air by Tyrone Hines. Billy Barron knocked that one loose.
Now, wait a minute. Was that a lateral? Was that a lateral? I wondered. I thought Burton had it for a second, and it looks like he lateraled it. Well, maybe that was 94.
Billy Barron.
Yeah, watch here. There he is right there. Now watch right here. He comes back with the ball, but is this a lateral? Watch here. Whoop, there you go. You can have it. Comes up. He may get an interception and a good lateral.
Right, Tyrone Hines is credited with the interception, and Steve is saying, well, it's one of those days, you know.
Well, when's the last time you saw two defensive linemen intercept passes? Doesn't happen very often.
Manning from the 18-yard line. South Carolina's defensive backs did a nice job of jamming Marcus Nash that time, not allowing him to really get into the pattern. And Payton really had no other alternative but to let it go.
I talked to one of the Tennessee linemen who's just on their team. He's not a starter or anything. He told me, he said, you know, when Peyton Manning runs out of the pocket, everybody goes choke, 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 choke. That's what he looks like. He has those big knee action, those feet coming up and down fast.
I tell you, with those high tops that you see, it reminds me a little bit of the old Johnny Unitas look. Remember, just the manner in which he carries himself. Screen to Graham. Best screen team in the country. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Boy, I was watching a block of Bubba Miller, number 71, right guard. Boy, he really got the block on the play. Right guard, slide, get out there and lead him. You talked about him being the best. He's right down the bottom of the picture right there. Look at him, knock him out. Roll him up. Touchdown.
First touchdown of the game for Graham. And the onslaught is on in Knoxville. The Volunteers making South Carolina pay. Just a consistent offensive scheme that works over and over again. Better than 95,000 on hand in Knoxville today, and their beloved Volunteers with a huge lead. Coming up next week from Little Rock, second consecutive game for the Razorbacks at War Memorial Stadium. They meet Mississippi State. The Bulldogs are playing Kentucky today, and Arkansas taking on Auburn in a game of tremendous interest in the SEC. Staley with the return. Deuce Staley continues to negotiate. And in what has been a game I'm sure most of the South Carolina players would just as soon forget, Staley has had a big day.
The bench is upset. You can see him sitting over there. But you're right, Deuce Staley has had two great returns. Remember that return that they had early, and they got no points out of that when they went on fourth down? That was another one of those series that compounded the mistakes of South Carolina today.
And again, I point back to the inability or the lack of confidence in going with that shotgun and being the offshoot of that statistic.
Oh, it sure is. Anytime you change that offense, it really changes your play.
Staley again. It's been a one-man band for the Gamecocks today in all-purpose yardage. In case you're wondering about Tannehill, who came in here as the hottest Division I quarterback in the country the last 3 weeks, he's now 5 of his last 17 for 41 yards and 2 interceptions after 153 consecutive completions, and both of the picks today have been tipped balls.
Yeah, well, let's be honest about that. Those aren't really interceptions. Those are almost like fumbles.
Shovel pass to Pritchett. He gets it down to the 35-yard line. Billy Barron again, who tipped that last pass that wound up in the arms of Tyrone Hines, made the stop.
I don't want to demean the importance of those interceptions, but they were both tip balls at the line. They're not where he threw the ball into trouble. I see you smiling over there, big guy. Yeah, sure. You're behind me 1,000%.
Absolutely. Right. Yep. I wouldn't disagree with you. Reddick. Mike Reddick has the first down to the Tennessee 26-yard line. Leonard Little again making the tackle. He's a great story. Little is, I think, one of those stories you don't hear that much about. Is a young man that was recruited heavily, came to school, found out that he did not qualify academically, was forced to go to junior college. But Leonard Little managed to get through junior college in enough time to have 3 years of eligibility at Tennessee. Quick swing pass out to Pritchett down to the 21-yard line. And, you know, with all of the problems that Tennessee has had off the field, and they've had many that have been well documented through the course of this season, what's lost many times are stories like that of a Leonard Little.
Oh, yeah. You really have to admire him. He's got 2 sacks today. He's blocked 1 kick. He's had 5 quarterback hurries. He has had an outstanding game. He's been all over the place.
Sophomore out of Asheville, North Carolina. Play fake. And a quick out to Monty Means to the 17-yard line. We have not called Monty's name that often since that first series today. Ray Austin made the tackle.
Yeah, Means has really been taken out of the game, and they've taken Zola Davis out. That's really what hurts South Carolina. We talked about the mistakes that they've made, but really, they've been taken out of the football game.
Means only has 3 receptions for 18 yards. Deuce Staley gets a blow, literally. Pritchett, the up back, a yard, maybe 2. Should be enough for the first down. Stanley Pritchett just 21 yards today. They have frankly used him more as a receiver than as a runner, though they tampered with that early in the season. And it appears that Deuce Staley will try to get back into the game. They desperately need him, that's for sure.
He's saying, I'm not hurt. He's got a little sprained ankle. We saw him coming out a little bit gingerly on that ankle. He wants to go back in and play football.
Bridges in motion. Tannehill. Dangerous when he scrambles. Almost intercepted again. Means the intended receiver, Noel, nearly to have the pick.
I don't think Tannehill ever saw Noel in there. Noel's going to be coming from his right. All he sees is his wide receiver as he steps up, think and run, pass. And now see Noel just plants and comes right back. He should have had a pick there.
Steve threw an errant pass in the Kentucky game late, which really cost the Gamecocks. And, of course, since that time, prior to today, he had not thrown an interception. 5:09 remaining in the third. Shovel pass again. Nothing doing. Steve White, senior out of Memphis, making the stop.
When that shuffle pass works is when you're getting great when you're getting a real... Wait a minute, I got to look at that sign. I feel like chicken tonight.
Hope it's baked.
But the only time that shuffle pass really works is when you get your defensive lineman really flying in and you throw it between them and you get it into the secondary.
3rd and 13 for Tannehill. Tipped and caught by Reddick. Now there is truly another nutty play. Hines tipped it, and then Reddick was in position to come away with it. And you know, had it not been tipped, it would have been a touchdown to Monty Means. That pass was headed for Monty at the post.
Watch 47, Hines. He's going to go up and tip the ball, turns around, and as you said, Reddick just looks, oh, there it is, bam. You see in the background there was Means. He was stopping back there. That's number 80. Means was the one it was intended for.
First and goal. Pritchett burrows to the 1-yard line. 6'1", 244-pounder out of College Park, Georgia. Billy Barron made the tackle. 4 yards rushing for Pritchett today on 3 attempts. But again, that's not the total story. They've not been able to get him into the passing game either.
And Deuce Staley talks his way back in the game. Back in there.
Tannehill with a marker down.
That flag is thrown along the line.
Same place where on the opening drive they had an opportunity at 1st and goal.
Is it again another penalty down there on the 1-yard line? I think that penalty's going against South Carolina. Look at the face of Tannehill. You can tell he doesn't like it. Don't tell me somebody moved again before the snap.
A recurring nightmare for Brad Scott at the 1.
6 players on the line of scrimmage. On the offense, 5-yard penalty. Previous spot. Repeat, 2nd down.
Yeah, that's 6 men. That's one of the wide receivers didn't get up on the line of scrimmage.
6 penalties for just 59 yards, but you know that they come at inopportune times.
Worst time. Instead of being 2nd down and 1, now you're 2nd down and 6.
Tannehill. Touchdown, Monty Means. That was a very nice forward handoff fake. That play action was that's the first time I've really seen Tennessee bite off the play action fake.
Well, 2 great things on this. Watch Tannehill's adjustment. He's going to go to his wide out going to the corner. Now, as he comes out here, he's going to go out here. See, to Staley, he's covered. Now, he just wings the ball, kind of falling away. He just throws that ball into Means. That was a nice adjustment.
I think that's Steve's greatest attribute, is his ability to throw when going the opposite way, throw across his body, maneuver and negotiate. He does take chances, but more oftentimes than not, he comes up aces. Brad Scott's team comes away with a touchdown to make it 42-14. Spend New Year's Day at the Outback Bowl in Tampa, Florida. Sending to Roy Kramer, chat with Bob Kessling at halftime about the Bowl Alliance. So much of that college fans are trying to catch up with to understand. He certainly understands the story, as any commissioner should. Speaking of Bob Kessling, let's go down to it.
What's the first thing, Dave, you're taught? Don't give the opponent any fodder to put on the bulletin board. This was a quote Steve Tannehill said, "I hate hearing that song," referring to Rocky Top. That wasn't in the Tennessee locker room. That was in the band room over at the Pride of the Southland. They had it plastered all over the band room. In fact, they had buttons saying anti-Tannehill, and of course they couldn't wear it because they'll be out of uniform today, but the band at least is fired up and wants to play Rocky Top a few more times.
Looks like they'll get their chance, Bob. But you know, in truth, Tannehill has really softened his image where the press is concerned since Brad Scott came down. High boot kick and the fair catch made by the Volunteers. Number 86, Dustin Moore, does the honor. You see the scoring drive. 11 plays, 52 yards. Means with his 9th touchdown reception of the season.
You know, when I looked at that band picture, I thought I saw some of those buttons over there. They had something on the front of their jerseys. Or uniforms, I guess you'd say, not jerseys.
1st and 10 for Manning. Moore stays in the game at a tight end spot. Up the middle and wide open. That'll get you over 100 for a 7th time a record. Jay Graham touchdown.
Tim, when he cleared the line, there was nobody there. The linebackers just bid on it. There's nobody in the secondary, and there's also nobody that's going to catch him. Look at the speed that he just runs away from him with.
66 yards officially for Graham. Testimony to patience. A young man recruited out of Concord, North Carolina, had to wait behind James Littleman Stewart and Charlie Garner for his opportunity. He has made the most of it in 95. And you're right, boy, once he got past that initial line for South Carolina, there was absolutely no one there.
Yeah, good block there, and there was just no one there. They just split the seam, and he was off, and he ran away from everybody. That was what's amazing to me. Graham's about 206, 208 pounds, and he just outran everyone. The see Brooks in there, 43. He takes the up back block, bam, right there. And now he's gone. Nobody even close to him. And you hear the band, Rocky Top. They're playing that in honor of Steve Tannehill.
Graham had a 75-yard run against Alabama. It meant so much for this team and this program to get that 9-year Alabama gorilla off their shoulders. And now when you look at the remaining games on Tennessee's schedule, with just a little bit of help, and I'll underscore a little bit of help, they have an opportunity of making a strong move at the top of all of the polls. Terry Cousin is back deep. This is again a high pooch that Cousin allows to go out of bounds. South Carolina should get it at the 35-yard line. Now Tennessee, as you see with Southern Mississippi, a non-conference game, and then at Kentucky, that's a border rivalry, and then Vanderbilt, the in-state one. But of course, you know the travails and problems of the Vanderbilt program. South Carolina, a toughie against Florida, that game at Williams-Brice Stadium, and then their matchup, the rivalry in the Palmetto State against Clemson, a team that has been running very well of late for head coach Tommy West. So a tough remaining schedule for the Gamecocks.
And Tim, I have to tell you real quick, got a friend of mine, Mrs. Ray, up here. It's a friend of mine's mom, and she told me before the game, she said 48-24. She's not bad off. You know, she told me she's been coming to games here for 45 years. She has not missed a game in this stadium. She sits right over there, just kind of out in front of us. But today I brought her in the booth. She gave me a great scout report. She said, "Now, you know that Gallion boy? He's great. He goes to church every Sunday. I really like him. Goes to my church." And she told me all kind of stuff about this Tennessee team. But she picked 48-24, and Carolina better get some scoring if they're going to get their 24.
A part of the preparation, right? You come in early?
Oh, we ask everybody about it. We ask everybody. Mrs. Ray fills me in every time I come to Knoxville. She gives me the inside scoop on Tennessee.
Rather than the 35-yard line, South Carolina will opt to return again. And given the problems that Tennessee has had in their kick coverage, you can certainly understand Brad Scott electing to have the Volunteers re-kick.
You know, this may be the fewest first downs I've ever seen in a 49-point scoring game. That's just incredible. They don't have a whole lot of first downs. Remember, they didn't have a first down until halfway through the second quarter. But Tennessee's offense has been big strike from long way out.
In many respects, Peyton Manning not giving you anything that you did not anticipate. It comes down to execution. And since the 10-minute mark of the second quarter, Tennessee's offense has been all about execution. They'll re-kick from the 30. That's Kerry Hood. And what could have been a 1st and 10 from the 35 turns out to be 1st and 10 from the 24. Anthony Hampton gets down there, number 85. Backup linebacker to Gallion, sophomore out of Edgewood, New Jersey. Inglewood, New Jersey, I beg your pardon, to make the tackle. So it's a 1st and 10 from the 24 for the Gamecocks.
Well, it's not gone the way that Steve Tannehill expected. It started off that way. They drove that ball about 80 yards down to the 2-yard line, made a little mistake, then made a big mistake. And from there, everything has been going against South Carolina. 2 tips, 2 interceptions. Tennessee has capitalized on field position. An avalanche.
Bridges in motion. Staley again. And obviously Tennessee's defense will give that. And of course, Staley's all-purpose yardage continues to mount through the course of this game. But as Brad Scott mentioned in his halftime conversation with Bob Kessler, this is about pride now. I mean, it could get, the avalanche could turn into an embarrassment. And South Carolina now has to say, hey, let's have a good game the rest of the way so that we're not shell-shocked with that matchup with Florida and Clemson that's yet to come. Another tipped pass intercepted.
And I think it was again Burton who tipped it.
Burton tipped it into the air. picked it off. The strong safety, freshman out of Jackson, Tennessee.
And Tannehill says, I'm getting tired of this. Watch the big man right in front of him. 84, get those hands up. Just tips it enough now. React back to the football. Comes down with it again. Great field position. 3 interceptions, and none of them what we really call clean interceptions. I mean, they're interceptions, don't get me wrong, but tips at the line when the linemen are catching them and linebackers are catching them, that's incredible.
Manning spins away and then thinks better of it and gets out of bounds. Aubrey Brooks had a crack at him, could not haul him down. And you see John Eason there trying to encourage Steve Tannehill, what has been a most difficult day. With a winning average and losing average of that points per game graphic. South Carolina has been all or nothing, and today it's been the latter rather than the former. 2nd and 14 for Peyton Manning. On a drop pass, Eric Lane let it get away from him. I wanted to touch on you, Dave, with this because we obviously have some time that we can discuss matters beyond just this particular game. Tennessee having to play Florida so early in the year, and Brad Scott was very adamant with us about his schedule being top-heavy and bottom-heavy with a little room in the middle. I think the SEC is certainly taking the necessary steps to make the collegiate game better for everyone to view by equally distributing these games in the future. Scheduling problems are, I think, one of the real problems facing college football in general and in the SEC. That pass complete to Pillow for a first down. Brooks made the tackle.
Well, you look when Tennessee played Florida, they had to play them real early. I know the schedules, as you say, are made up real early in the, they're made up 5-6 years in advance. Nice touch pass here by Manning, looking downfield, throwing over top of the defense, just perfect pass. But again, yeah, watch just over him this time. Just to him. But again, back to that scheduling thing. Tennessee had to play Florida, what, 3rd game of the year? Boom. That game's over. That game should be played right now. South Carolina, their bye week is at the end of the season.
Levine down to about the 17-yard line as the chains continued to move. And realistically, in the big picture of college football, since the SEC went to the 8 games, the administrations of each of the schools now have their own agendas where they want a certain game a certain week, and it's a tradition. Sure. You know what? It's the 90s. For the betterment of the game, you had better look at the big picture, the broad brush, rather than your own hidden agenda.
Think of what that Florida-Tennessee match would be right now.
Absolutely. Levine to the 5-yard line. And that isn't to say that the college game isn't about tradition. I know it is. I respect the game's tradition. But it's the 90s, and you have to market your game and improve it. Well, let's look at this big offensive line right here. Good blocks there. They're just driving through the hole. It's big man on big man. They're wearing them down. Right now, they've got the run-pass option. Puts a lot of pressure on this defense of South Carolina, and they are really reeling right now. They just have not been off the field. Manning starting to climb in those numbers. Look at that. Some of those 215 yards have been 10-yard passes and 50-yard runs. Levine inside the 2. Benji Young making the tackle. The thing that impresses me most about Peyton Manning, and I saw him in high school after having been from Louisiana. I had an opportunity to see Peyton as a high school player. He has grown and matured into his body so very nicely in such a short span of time, and he approaches the game in an almost effortless manner. Well, I can tell you this from having a son that plays football. It's so tough to try and stay out of the game, and you really have to admire Archie for staying out of Peyton's career, just saying, hey, there are your coaches. Don't call me up and ask me advice. We're going to talk dad to son. Then you really have to admire the focus that Peyton Manning has had. He's had distractions this week. They're saying Heisman Trophy. Well, it's real easy to get caught up in that. Talking about his dad, talking about Heisman, talking about, being a sophomore, talking about him going to another level. Watch Aubrey Brooks sticking Levine here.
Good stick in there. Face right in there. 43. Aubrey Brooks. He's not quitting.
Third down and goal with the ball at the 2-yard line for the Volunteers, leading at 49-14 as the quarter begins to wind to a halt. Should be able to get this play off. Play fake. Touchdown. Scott Pfeiffer, the tight end. You know, it's late in the game, but this drive, they clearly dissected South Carolina on this particular touchdown drive.
Well, this is that formation play action. Come out here. You've got the run-pass option. You can see the result in the back of the touchdown. Pfeiffer.
Scott Pfeiffer, his first touchdown catch of the season, junior out of St. Louis, Missouri. Jeff Hall in for the extra point. Quarter comes to an end on the extra point, and for Wally Burnham, the defensive coordinator, and for Brad Scott, it's a case of what might have been in the Smokies today. As we head to the fourth, it's a big orange onslaught. You see, it's time for the backups to get some duty. Jermaine Copeland warming up, as is the highly touted heir apparent to Steve Tannehill, Anthony Wright, the freshman out of Vanceboro, North Carolina, who will get his opportunity in a game that was billed as a marquee matchup for the starters. The backups are sure to get their chance. Hall boots it into the checkerboard end zone and down to the knee. First and 10 for the Gamecocks from the 20. Our Lee Apparel stats after 3. Tennessee's passing yards obviously picking up tremendously since the second quarter. South Carolina really unable to get anything going since that drive for the touchdown early in the second.
Well, that's 600 of the 1,000 yards we thought we might see. And of course, if Tannehill had his kind of a day, we might have seen 1,000 yards.
Had he been in a shotgun,
yes,
he probably would have about another 150 to 200 yards. Would you not agree?
I would agree with that very much so. I just think they really took him out today.
Anthony Wright in at quarterback. Not much room for Staley, who has had to endure a number of hits this day. Craig King comes in to polish up this time.
Now it's about time for me to ask that question that thousands of people here in Knoxville want to know. Where exactly is Bob Kessling's seat in that new addition in the end zone?
You know, they're going to go up to 102,000 plus, and Bob, of course, makes his home here in Knoxville. I would suspect that he's going to get the best seat.
Well, I've been looking over there at some of the flags that are blowing, and that looks a lot like Bob Kessling's area.
Right, out of the pocket.
Was that a fumble?
Well, it was headed in a forward motion, it appeared, but the pressure from Steve White off the corner again. It's like, welcome to Knoxville, Anthony Wright. You're going to get a little bit of what Tannehill had to put up with.
And that's the most vulnerable position for a quarterback to be in when you're throwing. He's got that arm cocked back. Now look to the right of your screen. You're going to see as the arm comes forward, when you get that arm hit right there, that's rotator time, where you tear that rotator cuff, and those big injuries happen. Quarterbacks do not want to get hit in their motion. I remember a great quarterback, Greg Cook, played for Cincinnati years ago, and he was just a tremendous prospect. Bam, his pro career was over. He got hit in the passing form.
Third down and 10. Wright, who is known for his maneuverability, stopped at about the line of scrimmage. Wilson, who had that interception, comes up with run support to make the stop. Fourth down, and the fans, and many of them still here, enjoying it. Better than 80 of the 95,000 I would anticipate are still at Neyland Stadium. Give their defense a round of applause. Jeff Coat to punt it away. Again, a low end-over-end punt. Anytime he's gone into that wind, he's really had difficulty today. A wind of about 20 miles per hour, gusting to 30. Just 23 yards that time for the Carolina punter. Plenty of time remaining for Tennessee, and Copeland is coming in. Old Smoky barking away. What's he upset about?
I don't know. He's barking out something. Maybe it's signal.
Jeremy Bates, freshman out of Sevierville, a coach's son, gets to lead the team rather than Copeland. And why not just give it up to Levine and let him scamper? That's a first down, as the Gamecocks certainly have their heads down on defense now. The marker down.
Well, it's going to be holding against against Tennessee. That's the only thing that stopped Tennessee today. And look at Philip Fulmer. Now, who was holding?
During the run, 10-yard penalty, spotted a fall, repeat first down.
I thought it interesting what you said about Fulmer, about being him being a kind of an old lineman with an offensive thought. There's a little bit of controversy there. He wants to open up, throw it deep. You know, that's kind of like those old linemen. You know, what's the biggest thrill for a lineman? To score.
Yeah.
And I think Fulmer's that same way.
Yeah, he and David Cutcliffe have been together for some time. Cutcliffe has been on this staff for 13 years, and he really gives him a lot of credit. You see Bates. Play fake. He'll opt to run, and he quickly gets out of bounds near the 30-yard line. You know, you think about Philip Fulmer's career from 69 through 71 and the changes in college football since that time. As you look at our Jefferson Pilot Sports scoreline, the ACC story this day. That's an interesting game. Kentucky still has a bowl opportunity that they're playing for this year, and a close one against Mississippi State. Breaking tackle after tackle, and you know, your defense can only do so much through the course of the day, and very few backups for Wally Burnham to turn to late in a game. If you look at the final story, we closed the book on Peyton Manning. 16 of 22, 15, 4 touchdowns.
A little 80%, if my math is not wrong.
Second down and a yard to go for Bates and the Volunteers. This will be a sack. The first to get to him was Benji Young, and then the help came from Sylvester Miller.
And you know what happens right now? You think of a young quarterback like Bates in there. He wants to throw the football. He's saying, "Hey, give me a chance in there. Let me take a little swing at it." You know, this is not kneel down time, hand the football off. He wants to still run his offense. He wants to practice. A lot of people would think perhaps they're trying to run up the score, but they're just trying to run their offense.
You got better than 12 minutes left in the game. This is an opportunity for your backups to have a chance to show what they've learned. They, after all, work as hard as anyone else in preparation through the course of a week. Third down and 10. Caldwell moved. Obviously, he's pointing to the other side of the line of scrimmage. Right at Brent Gibson. Yeah.
Ball before the snap. Ball start. Right tackle. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
When we talked about all the Heisman hype, truthfully, South Carolina did very little in terms of hype where Steve Tannehill's concerned. His numbers got into the press, and suddenly, with this matchup, he got some ink this past week. Peyton Manning may not finish in the top 3 in the Heisman voting, but he's going to stay for 4 years. He will before he's done.
Well, he'll be a Heisman Trophy candidate for Philip Fulmer.
Absolutely. Sylvester Miller finally makes the tackle. You could give that as a coverage sack to the Gamecock secondary.
It was a good sack for the secondary because they kept coverage. He allowed them to come out there, finally got to him. There was no one open. Quarterback couldn't throw the football.
Fourth down, a punt formation for Tennessee. Binion again, who has been unable to find that coffin corner. Gamecocks again send no one back as a safety.
They've only got 10 men out there.
Now the 11
line up. Don't line up.
See, and again, you know, and you wonder again about special teams and the problems that come from them. And this is an age where you see assistant coaches that are, in fact, in charge of special teams, something a few years ago that you really did not see in college football. Well, we were talking about that expansion and where Bob Kessling's seat might, in fact, be. I think we may have the answer.
Hey, there he is.
You might have heard that huge roar from the crowd. That's when I climbed on the roof. Just me getting up here was something. But exactly what Tennessee's going to do, take this roof off, then they're going to expand the stadium. They've already started building. In fact, they did the first footings of it after last season. So all summer long, they've been pouring the footings. As soon as this football season is over, then they'll complete the addition to the north end zone of Neyland Stadium. And, of course, will take the seating capacity here well over 1,000. Now, Dave and Tim, you want me to pick out a couple of seats for you guys to do up here? I'm picking them out now.
Listen, I got to ask you something, Bob. I mean, this is obviously an athletic department that's doing very well financially. Will they add a bigger scoreboard? I think they're in need of one.
Yeah, that's part of the plan. They're going to put in additional message boards and signage. And the way the stadium has been constructed was a problem, but they are going to improve the signage and the scoreboards here at Neyland Stadium. Now, my big thing is try to figure out how to get off this thing.
Punt rolls dead at the 21-yard line after an 18-yarder in the win. 56-14. Back to the roof after this. 10:25 remaining here in Knoxville at Neyland Stadium. The Volunteers handily in front of South Carolina. Tim Brando, Dave Rowe, Bob Kessling. Anthony Wright. This is his second series. Staley remains in the backfield to dot the I behind him. Quick toss as they head for the boundary. And again, Staley picks up 9. He's very close to the necessary yardage for the first down. And Steve Tannehill's day, not at all what he anticipated. All of those interceptions, tipped passes. Very bizarre in some respects. But again, the inability to run the turbo offense the way he wanted because of breakdowns at the center position.
Yeah, that snap just killed him because he had to start taking the snap from center. You know, a terrible day for him. Yeah, I'm looking at Bob Kessling over there. Is he really going to go down that ladder? Nah, he's not going down a ladder from that roof.
Pritchett takes it. You know, I would strike into the song Up on the Roof, but somehow I don't think it applies where Kessling's concerned. But, yeah, this is his area. This is where he makes his home. He works for the local NBC affiliate here in Knoxville. I mean, you don't have to worry about buying dinner if you're in Knoxville with Bob Kessling.
Well, this is really, and I know this is going to sound almost bizarre to say this, but with 10 minutes left in the game, this is a real search time for South Carolina. You're going to try to find some kind of positive notes to put on the board for next week. They've got a lineup next week. So you're looking for a running game. You're looking for a quarterback to get experience. You're looking for your linemen. You're looking for people that don't quit. You're looking for some offensive continuity. It's just a lot of soul searching right now.
Well, one thing they don't need to search for is all-purpose yardage from Deuce Staley. On the ground today, 17 carries, 119 yards. The problem is they did not anticipate Staley carrying the ball 17 times. That was a recipe for failure as an offense. That's not to take anything away from his effort. Second down and 4. He follows Pritchett again. Give Brad Scott credit. He's saying, you know what, let's have a respectable showing, but let that clock move. Well, we talked about Bob and his new seat with the stadium expansion. It's not always easy, this gig, huh? Just 25 years ago, that's what Bob Kessling looked like.
Well, he's the man that started. He really turned this Tennessee program around.
No doubt. 1972. I think they called him Smokes Kessling back then.
Well, I'll tell you right now, he is a smoker. Did you see how fast he went down that ladder when he missed that third step?
He looked a little like Danny Terrio in 17. Out of the I formation. Play fake. Wright gets away. A nifty move by Anthony Wright for the first down. One of the few missed tackles we've seen today for Tennessee as he got away from Jeff Coleman the defensive end, sophomore out of Gaffney, South Carolina.
That really was a nifty move, because when you come out there, that's on the blind side. You're doing the fake, and you're coming out there on a naked boot. The last thing you expect is the corner to come up or the outside linebacker to come up and smack you. But so it really was a great move.
Down the sidelines, incomplete. Pass was intended for Calvin Owens, the redshirt sophomore. The marker is down.
And the flag was thrown really late. Maybe roughing. Oh, it's face mask. Someone rushing the ball got a hand up in the face mask, because that flag was thrown after the pass was thrown.
Steve Tannehill, of course.
55. Face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty.
Well, that's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. You know, you're not supposed to be identified at the collegiate level, but Rom kept the mic on a little early. Tannehill, who's been breaking records every time he's come onto the field, has been breaking this man's records. Todd Ellis, who's upstairs in the middle of Charlie McAlexander and Tommy Suggs. It's Todd with the specs. And you know, you think about this South Carolina program and what it's gone through. As Pritchett breaks free, well, he was a shoelace away from perhaps a touchdown that time. Pickup of about 4, maybe 5 yards. The death of Joe Morrison, a tragic death very early, and then of course after that they had, and you see Todd Ellis in career numbers up above 9,000 yards total, just under 10,000 as a matter of fact.
That's going to be hard to break.
But that the program went through so much with the loss of Morrison and then the Sparky Woods tenure and the changing in athletic directors and the presidents of the university.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of stability now with Brad Scott. He's not one of those ones who's going to make wholesale changes real fast. He's going to build a program. It's going to take time. He needs depth. He knew that. We talked in the third game of the season. They were already talking about how they were so thin at different positions. They needed to build.
You know, Todd is working with Charlie McAlexander, one of my favorite broadcasters in the country, radio voice of the Gamecocks, and Tommy Suggs also works on their broadcast team. Todd is an attorney and doing very well as a young broadcaster making his way up. I think he actually works on the sidelines rather than in the booth normally. But he was outstanding. I recall having the opportunity of calling his first game or being a part of the broadcast of his freshman year matchup with Vinny Testaverde. Right, rolling right. Dumps it at the last second as he was about to be hammered. Pass falls incomplete at the 20-yard line. It was intended for Jason Lawson, the backup tight end, junior out of Union, South Carolina.
And Tim, right now you're looking for different things. You're really looking for what a quarterback does under pressure. That was a good move by him to come out in the flat, keep this perspective looking downfield, trying to find a wide out, not worried about the pressure, not just running out of bounds, trying to make something happen. So right now you're trying to look for positives.
South Carolina has gone exclusively out of the I formation since Wright has come into the game. Staley stopped at the 20-yard line. Terry Fair, the first to get there. Had a little help from Anthony Hampton, 85.
And Staley still running hard. Starting halfback in this formation. Started the game. He's running just as hard right now as he was when he first played. That's the sign of a real champion.
You know, that matchup next week that we have between Mississippi State and Arkansas could be vital to the Hogs, regardless of the outcome of tonight's game against Auburn that is being played also at War Memorial Stadium. And the Razorbacks get the Bulldogs next week in our matchup in Little Rock.
Well, Danny Ford said he likes his team. He's got a good one.
I think the shoes certainly fit for them to be the most improved in the Western Division. Pritchett picks up about 3 on the 4th down play, so the Gamecocks hold on.
Boy, and whenever we get in a game like this, I continually thinking about, I had a great coach, John Madden, who used to say, a football game is determined by 5 plays. You never know when they're going to happen. So you play as hard as you can, and when they happen, you hope they happen the right way for you. And this game has come down. When you start to look, there are 5 huge plays in this game.
2 that are just, I think, you can almost print in headlines. The 1-yard line movement on 1st and goal, or 2nd and goal, I think, at that particular point in time. It was 2nd and goal from the 1. Became 2nd and goal from the 6 instead, as you see the run up the middle by Staley for negligible yardage. That meant that the opportunity at 7 decreased to 3 by probably 50%.
Sure.
Then the blocked field goal, that's the second play. And then the snap that was low, that's actually 3.
Well, the one over top of the head of Tannehill.
Again, and that was after their defense had actually stopped Tennessee.
Sure.
While trailing 7-0, had a chance at quality field position, lost 20 yards on that play, and then they decided to just shelve the shotgun, which meant the turbo had lost all of its power.
Well, it comes down. I guess, like he's always said, it came down to 4 or 5 big key plays.
Reverse to Means. Stopped at the 10-yard line. An outstanding tackle made by Corey Gaines, number 30, the sophomore, out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's a young man who settled on Tennessee, was recruited heavily by Texas, and the Southeastern Conference was the selling point to get him into Knoxville.
Well, you know, one thing that Tennessee did, which was really interesting in talking to their people, they said that after the Florida game, they realized that they had not practiced situations. And so they came out and they started practicing defensive situations. 3rd down and 7 deep in the territory, those different types of things. And John Chavis has really done a good job, because what he did is he put them in different situations in practice. Instead of just coming out 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, he'd come out and say, it's 3rd down and 10, you've got to make a 1st down, you've got to stop them defense.
Staley again on the carry. As we look at that Jefferson Pilot Sports score line, Kentucky now has eased in front of Mississippi State. Whew. Is Ohio State tough?
Tough and for real.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the Battle of Kansas. Yeah, how do you get 4 points?
You know what? The Kansas State story actually hurts Tennessee in the sense of the alliance, with respect to the alliance and where they might wind up, and allowing Notre Dame to remain where they are. That's not a good score if you're a Tennessee fan looking at the big picture. Pritchett stopped at the 5-yard line.
Are you going to tell me there were 2 safeties in that game? I mean, how else do you... I'm just sitting here thinking, I know I'm a defensive lineman. I played my last 2 years without a helmet. But how do you get 4 points there, partner?
Yeah, that's probably it.
But you know the guys down the truck never make a mistake.
No, of course not.
Never.
Absolutely not.
Everything you want to know about this game is done down that truck.
2nd down and goal at the 5. I knew that was coming.
I knew they'd put us on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Right on cue, they come to us on camera. Shovel pass to Pritchett. Not quite. Not quite. Nelson making the stop, number 60 in the orange and white of Tennessee.
Well, I think quickly back to that first drive, they were in this exact position. And that first drive, they drove the length of the field, got to this position. 2nd down, they had that movement that you talked about.
Well, if you recall, Tannehill had an outstanding run out of the pocket, got nailed at the 1, came up, head of pumping, fist clasped. Yeah. He was ready to go, and then that penalty took all of the air out of that balloon. Pritchett bounces off the tackle and into the end zone for the touchdown. A long drive that took a great deal of time off of the clock. 17 plays, ending in a touchdown for the Gamecocks. 56-20 our score.
Yeah, this is just power football. Run off tackle, put your head down, you're stopped. Nope, you're not. Again, spin, just try to get into that end zone. Hey, is that Ken Dennis?
Well, it's Ken and the King.
Oh, yeah. That's Rob Reichley right behind him.
The extra point is good, and the Gamecocks gets 7 on a 17-play drive. 56-21, Volunteers. Back after this. On Tennessee, ranked 5th in the country, doing nothing to hurt that status nationally. Taking on a South Carolina team that had illusions of grandeur coming in today. And off the first few plays offensively, it appeared to be a game that would be up to the advanced billing. But mistakes cost them special teams breakdowns, and by halftime, this one was for all intents and purposes over. Al Wilson gets the fair catch. 1st and 10 with the ball at the 41-yard line. As you look at the standings in the Eastern Division of the Southeastern Conference, understand that even if Florida were to lose, the tiebreaker would still put them in the championship game. Therein lies the reason you look at Tennessee as a team that is headed somewhere besides the Sugar Bowl, although Sugar Bowl representatives are here today. Jermaine Copeland has come into the game at quarterback, so he'll get a series. Copeland, a freshman out of Harriman, Tennessee. Play fake and the roll. Finds the tight end, Dustin Moore. And Moore carries some Gamecocks with him. Freshman out of Greenville, Tennessee.
Boy, he got stuck. I mean, he just put it down and put his head down and just ground for those yardage. Watch this little fake action here, strong side, come back on the boot. Now he got the run pass option, dump it over his head. Now watch, he gets stuck right there. Look at the 50-yard line. He just drags 2 or 3 across that line. There's the 50. Well, he made it out there way past the 50, almost to the 45.
Andrew Schuler is in the game at a wideout. Quick opener to Sean Bryson. Marker comes down. Bryson, a freshman out of Franklin, North Carolina. And we'll check the marker.
Oh, and I think that's an ineligible substitution.
Our Miller Lite players of the game: Deuce Staley, 141 yards on 22 carries, and why not? Peyton Manning, 16 of 20 for 215 yards and 4 touchdowns. And as part of our players of the game, as part of our Players of the Game Award scholarship, before I was so rudely interrupted by the official, Jefferson Pilot Sports will donate $2,000 to the Southeastern Conference to be distributed among its member institutions. Clock continues to run under 60 seconds. Sean Bryson off the left side. Henry Taylor making the stop. You know, in talking of Peyton Manning, we speak so often of Archie because of the bloodline, but you know, in truth, a lot of credit has to go to that entire family. His brother Cooper, who went to Ole Miss, was injured, and unfortunately a great receiver, didn't have an opportunity to play at the collegiate level. Very smart young man, and Mother Olivia has done a very nice job with all of the Manning children.
Well, she didn't come to today's game because her son, the one that's in 9th grade, had a JV game today, so she had to stay home.
I'm also told she's the fashion consultant for Peyton. Make sure that he's well groomed, as all moms should. Certainly Tennessee was groomed for success today, as they hammered a South Carolina team that had felt that it might have turned the corner. A second quarter barrage that ends with a 56-21 final score. Phil Fulmer and Brad Scott, 2 of the fine young coaches in the Southeastern Conference that I think will help make this not only a conference that has strength